The cerulean sky of Kepler 186a stretched endlessly above the rolling purple plains. Dr. Amelia Chain squinted against the alien sun's glare as she adjusted the fit of her exosuit's helmet. The exploratory mission to this distant exoplanet had so far yielded fascinating data on its unique ecosystem, but nothing to suggest intelligent life had ever graced its surface. That was about to change. "Captain, I'm picking up some unusual readings about 2 clicks north of our position," Amelia called into her eyes fixed on the holographic display projected from her wrist computer. "Organic in nature, but the mass is, well, it's off the charts." Captain Darius Flynn's gruff voice crackled through the team's shared channel. "Define off the charts, Doc. We talking elephant-sized or whale-sized?" Amelia rate-checked her readings, brow furrowed. "Try small moon-sized, sir. Whatever it is, it's big. And if I'm interpreting these biorhythms correctly, it's alive. Barely." A tense silence fell over the channel. The 5-person crew of the research vessel Curiosity had encountered plenty of extremophile bacteria and even some larger fauna since landing on Kepler 186f 3 weeks ago, but nothing remotely close to the scale Amelia was describing. "All right, team, let's move out," Flynn finally ordered. "Chen, you're on point. Kowalski, bring up the rear with the heavy gear. Everyone stay alert. We don't know what we're walking into." The landscape undulated beneath their feet as the team made their way north, each step releasing puffs of lavender dust. As they crested a final ridge, collective gasps of awe filled the channel. Before them lay a crater easily half a kilometer wide, and in its center, a mountain of mottled gray flesh rose and fell with labored breaths. The creature, if it could be called that, defied easy categorization. Its form seemed to shift and flow, as if not entirely solid. Tendrils as thick as redwood strolled from a central mass, some tipped with structures that might have been sensory organs. "Holy shit," whispered Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the team's stenobiologist. "It's beautiful." Amelia couldn't tear her eyes from the sight. "Captain, permission to approach for closer scans." "Negative," Flynn replied sharply. "We observe from a safe distance until we know more." "Tanaka, what are we looking at here?" Yuki's voice trembled with barely contained excitement. "It's unlike anything in our databases, sir. The closest analog I can think of would be a colonial organism, like a Portuguese man-o'-war. But the scale, and the apparent centralized nervous system, this is entirely new." As the team watched, a shudder passed through the alien's massive form. A low moan filled the air, so deep it was felt more than heard. The sound carried such profound anguish that Amelia felt tears spring to her eyes. "It's in pain," she whispered. Flynn's voice was grim. "Yeah, and it's dying. Look at those gashes along its flank. Something did a number on this thing." Indeed, now that Amelia looked closer, she could see evidence of grievous wounds across the creature's body. A viscous fluid that might have been blood oozed from deep furrows in its hide. "We have to help it," Amelia said, surprising herself with the vehemence in her voice. "Absolutely not," countered Dr. Marcus Reeves, the mission's astrobiologist. "We have no idea what that thing is capable of. For all we know, it could be carnivorous. We'd be risking our lives and potentially contaminating the local ecosystem." "Marcus is right," Flynn added. "Our mission is to observe and collect data, not play intergalactic veterinarians. We report this finding and move on." Amelia felt a surge of anger. "With all due respect, sir, that's bullshit. We're scientists, yes, but we're also representatives of humanity. If we turn our backs on a suffering creature, sentient or not, what does that say about us? About our species? An uncomfortable silence fell over the team. Amelia pressed on, her voice softening. Look at it. Really look. This isn't just some mindless animal. The complexity, the scale, there's intelligence there. I can feel it. She took a deep breath, steeling herself for what she was about to propose. I say we try to communicate. If we can establish even rudimentary contact, we might learn things beyond our wildest imaginations. And if nothing else, we can ease its suffering. Isn't that worth the risk? The silence stretched on, broken only by the alien's labored breathing. Finally, Yuki spoke up. I'm with Amelia. We can't just walk away from this. Same here, chimed in Lys Kowalski, the team's engineer. Hell, even if we can't save it, studying its biology could advance medical science by decades. Flynn let out a long sigh. I can't believe I'm even considering this. Reese, you're the tiebreaker. What's your call? Marcus was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was resigned. The potential benefits outweigh the risks, but we proceed with extreme caution. At the first sign of danger, we abort. Agreed. A chorus of affirmatives sounded through the cum. Flynn shook his head, but Amelia could hear the smile in his voice. All right, you bleeding hearts win. Chen Tanaka, you're up. Approach slowly and establish a perimeter. Kowalski, prep the med kit. God knows if any of our stuff will work on that thing, but we'll do what we can. Amelia's heart raced as she and Yuki made their way down the gentle slope of the crater. As they drew closer, the sheer scale of the alien became even more apparent. What had looked like small fissures from a distance were revealed to be chasms large enough to swallow a shuttle. Hello, Amelia called out, feeling slightly foolish. We're here to help. Can you understand us? The alien's massive form shuddered. Slowly, agonizingly, a portion of its central mass began to rise. Amelia froze as what could only be described as an eye the size of a house opened before them. Its pupil contracted, focusing on the two humans with unnerving intensity. A wave of something washed over Amelia. Not quite sound, not quite thought, with a palpable sensation that carried meaning. Pain, alone. Why? Amelia gasped, staggering under the weight of the alien's communication. Yuki steadied her, eyes wide with wonder. Did you feel that? Amelia whispered. Yuki nodded. It's telepathic, or empathic, at least. This changes everything. Gathering her courage, Amelia focused her thoughts, trying to project reassurance and compassion. Friends. Help. Not alone. The alien's eye blinked slowly. Another wave of sensation flowed over them, tinged with confusion and a faint glimmer of hope. Long time. Others fear. You. Different. Yes, Amelia said aloud, nodding vigorously. We're different. We want to understand. To help, if we can. Will you let us? The alien's massive body seemed to relax slightly. Its eye closed, and Amelia felt a sense of acquiescence wash over her. Captain, she called into her calm voice, trembling with a mix of fear and excitement. We've made contact. It's intelligent, and it's given us permission to approach. Request full team assistance for triage and treatment. Flynn's reply was immediate. Understood. We're on our way. And Chen? Yes, sir. Good work. Both of you. Let's see if we can't save this thing, shall we? As the rest of the team made their way down the crater, Amelia turned back to the alien, a sense of wonder and purpose filling her. Humanity's first contact with a sapient extraterrestrial wasn't going to be a grand exchange of ambassadors or a violent clash of civilizations. Instead, it would be an act of compassion, an outstretched hand to a dying creature on a lonely world. Whatever happened next, Amelia knew that this moment would change the course of human history forever. And as she placed a hand on the alien's coarse hide, feeling the faint thrum of its fading life source, she silently vowed to do everything in her power to ensure that change would be for the better. First contact and communication. As the Curiosity's crew gathered around the massive alien, the sheer scale of their task became apparent. The creature's wounds were vast, some large enough to drive a rover through. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, her exosuit's gloves already stained with the alien's viscous ichor, shook her head in disbelief. These injuries, they're not natural. Something attacked this being, and with serious firepower. Captain Flynn's voice was grim. Any theories on what could do this kind of damage? Nothing native to this planet, Yuki replied. We're looking at weapons. Advanced ones. The implications hung heavy in the air. If there were forces out there capable of nearly destroying a creature of this size, what chance did humanity stand? Amelia pushed the thought aside, focusing on the task at hand. Let's worry about interstellar politics later. Right now, we need to stop the bleeding. For hours, the team worked tirelessly. Their medical supplies, designed for human physiology, proved largely ineffective. It was Louis Kowalski who finally had a breakthrough. The wounds are too big for conventional methods, he mused, eyeing the medical nanites they'd brought for emergencies. But if we reprogrammed these little guys to act as a kind of living suture? It was a risky plan, but they were out of options. As Louis worked to recalibrate the nanites, Amelia attempted to communicate their intentions to the alien. Help coming. May hurt. Trust us. The response was immediate, a wave of gratitude so intense it nearly knocked Amelia off her feet. Grateful, long alone, forgot, kindness. As the reprogrammed nanites did their work, knitting together the alien's torn flesh, Amelia found herself wondering about the creature's past. How long had it been here, wounded and alone? What kind of life had it lived before? Slowly, painstakingly, they made progress. The alien's wounds began to close, its breathing growing steadier. And as its condition improved, so too did its ability to communicate. Images began to flash in Amelia's mind. Strange worlds, vast fleets of living ships, epic battles among the stars. The creature was sharing its memories, telling its story in the only way it could. It's not just one being, Amelia gasped, realization dawning. It's a collective. Countless individuals joined into a single entity. Yuki's eyes widened. A gestalt consciousness. Fascinating. As the days wore on, their understanding grew. The alien, which they came to call the Nexus, had once been part of a thriving civilization. Its kind had roamed the galaxy, peaceful explorers and caretakers of younger races. But their very nature, so alien and incomprehensible to others, had sparked fear and mistrust. Misunderstood, attacked, scattered. The images grew darker, planets in flames, Nexus beings hunted across the stars. This one, wounded and desperate, had fled to the farthest reaches of space, crash-landing on Kepler 186f. How long have you been here? Amelia asked aloud, though she knew the Nexus could understand her thoughts. The response was a feeling more than a number, and span of time so vast it made Amelia's mind reel. Eons slept, healed, waited. Waited for what? Marcus asked, drawn into the conversation despite his initial skepticism. The Nexus's reply filled their minds with a sense of profound hope and purpose. For you, for understanding. Part 3. Unveiling Ancient Wisdom. As the Nexus's condition stabilized, the flow of information became a torrent. The creature's vast memory contained knowledge spanning millions of years and countless civilizations. The team worked in shifts, interfacing with the Nexus and furiously documenting everything they learned. "It's incredible," Yuki breathed, her eyes alight with wonder. "They've solved problems we haven't even encountered yet. The applications for medicine alone." Indeed, the Nexus's understanding of biology was revolutionary. It spoke of manipulating the fundamental forces of the universe in ways that made their most advanced physics look like child's play. But it wasn't just scientific knowledge the creature shared. Balance, harmony, all connected. The Nexus's philosophy was one of cosmic symbiosis. It showed them visions of worlds where every species, from the smallest microbe to the grandest spacefaring civilizations, played a crucial role in the greater tapestry of existence. "It's like they're living embodiments of the Gaia hypothesis," Marcus mused, "but on a galactic scale." Yet, for all its wisdom, the Nexus carried a profound sadness. It was the last of its kind, the sole survivor of a civilization that had spanned galaxies. Alone, last memory, heavy burden. Amelia felt her heart break for the creature. "You're not alone anymore," she promised. "We'll make sure your people are remembered." As the days stretched into weeks, the bond between the humans and the Nexus deepened. They learned to interpret its complex emotional landscapes, to understand the nuances of its multifaceted thoughts. In turn, the Nexus seemed to draw strength from their presence, its massive form gradually regaining vitality. But their time was running out. The Curiosity had been designed for a 6-week mission, and they were rapidly approaching that limit. Soon, they would have to leave and face the consequences of their actions. "We can't just abandon it," Amelia argued during a tense crew meeting. "The Nexus is a sentient being, the last of an ancient species. We have a moral obligation to protect it." Flynn rubbed his temples, a gesture that had become all too common lately. "I don't disagree, Chen, but we're talking about smuggling a house-sized alien onto our ship. Command is going to have questions. So we tell them the truth." Lewis chimed in. "We've made first contact with an advanced alien species, one that's willing to share technology that could revolutionize every aspect of human society. They'd be idiots not to want to preserve that." Marcus shook his head. "It's not that simple. The Nexus was hunted to near extinction by other spacefaring races. What if by helping it, we're painting a target on Earth?" The debate raged on, but in the end, the decision was unanimous. They couldn't leave the Nexus behind. Whatever the consequences, they would face them together. As they made preparations to leave, Amelia spent every spare moment with the Nexus, absorbing as much knowledge as she could. It was during one of these sessions that the creature shared its most startling revelation yet. "Not blast. Others sleep, hidden, waiting." Amelia's heart raced. "There are more of you out there. Scattered, dormant, need awakening." The implications were staggering. The Nexus wasn't just a repository of ancient wisdom. It was the key to reviving an entire civilization, one that could reshape the galaxy. As the Curiosity prepared for liftoff, its hold reconfigured to accommodate their massive passenger, Amelia felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. They were about to change the course of human history. She just hoped they were ready for what came next. Part 4. Galactic Repercussions. The Curiosity's return to Earth was anything but quiet. Long before they entered the solar system, a barrage of urgent communiques flooded their comms. It seemed their prolonged radio silence had not gone unnoticed. "Curiosity, this is Mission Control. You are ordered to divert to Lunar Quarantine Station immediately. Do not, I repeat, do not attempt to land on Earth." Flynn exchanged worried glances with his crew. They had expected some pushback, but this level of caution was unprecedented. As they approached the stark grey orb of the moon, a sleek military vessel fell into formation beside them. An escort, or a warning? The next few weeks were a blur of debriefings, medical examinations, and increasingly heated arguments with Earth's political and military leadership. The crew found themselves separated, subjected to endless interrogations about their encounter with the Nexus. Amelia, her mind still reeling from the vast repository of knowledge the Nexus had shared, struggled to make the bureaucrats understand the magnitude of what they discovered. "You don't get it," she snapped, frustration finally boiling over. "The Nexus isn't just some alien curiosity. It's a gateway to understanding the fundamental nature of the universe. The things it can teach us are potentially a threat to national security," interrupted General Hawthorne, the stern-faced military liaison assigned to the case. "Need I remind you, Dr. Chen, that this creature belongs to a species that was hunted across the galaxy? Have you considered that perhaps there was a good reason for that?" Amelia bit back a caustic retort. She'd been over this argument a dozen times already. The Nexus and its kind were peaceful explorers. They were hunted because they were different, because other species feared what they didn't understand. Sound familiar? The general's eyes narrowed, but before he could respond, an aide burst into the room, face pale. "Sir, we're picking up multiple contacts approaching the solar system. They're asking for the Nexus." The room erupted into chaos. As alarms blared and officials shouted orders, Amelia felt a chill run down her spine. It seemed the consequences of their actions had finally caught up with them. Hours later, the crew of the Curiosity found themselves reunited in a high-security briefing room, watching grainy footage of the approaching ships. They were like nothing Amelia had ever seen. Massive, organic-looking vessels that seemed to shift and flow like living things. "More Nexus," Yuki whispered, eyes wide with wonder. Amelia shook her head. "No, I don't think so. But definitely connected. Maybe custodians." Flynn turned to General Hawthorne, his voice tight. "I don't suppose they responded to our hails." The general's face was grim. "Oh, they responded all right. They're demanding we turn over the Nexus immediately. Say they've been searching for it for millennia." "And if we refuse?" Marcus asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Hawthorne's silence spoke volumes. As the gravity of the situation sank in, Amelia felt a familiar presence brush against her mind. The Nexus, still sequestered in a reinforced hangar on the far side of the moon, was reaching out. Time for truth. Amelia took a deep breath, squaring her shoulders. "We need to talk to them. Not as potential enemies, but as fellow sentients. The Nexus can help us communicate." "Absolutely not," Hawthorne barked. "We are not putting Earth's fate in the hands of an alien we barely understand." "With all due respect, sir," Flynn interjected, "we're out of options. We either trust the Nexus and try to negotiate, or we're looking at a war we can't possibly win." For a long moment, the room was silent save for the low hum of electronics and the weight of impending doom. Finally, Hawthorne nodded, his shoulders sagging in defeat. "God help us all," he muttered. As preparations were made for the unprecedented diplomatic encounter, Amelia couldn't shake a feeling of nervous excitement. Humanity was about to take its first real steps onto the galactic stage. She just hoped they wouldn't stumble. Part 5. A New Beginning. The cavernous hangar bay of the lunar base buzzed with nervous energy. Dignitaries from every major Earth nation stood in uneasy clusters, their eyes fixed on the shimmering force field that separated them from the vacuum of space. Beyond, the sleek forms of the alien ships loomed, a silent armada that dwarfed humanity's greatest vessels. Amelia stood with her crewmates near the Nexus, its massive form barely contained by the hangar's dimensions. She could feel waves of calm reassurance emanating from the creature, a stark contrast to the anxiety radiating from the assembled humans. Trust, unity, hope. The Nexus's thoughts washed over her, steadying her nerves. Whatever happened next, they would face it together. A ripple passed through the crowd as the force field shimmered, admitting a delegation of beings unlike anything Amelia had ever seen. They were vaguely humanoid, but their forms seemed to shift and flow, as if not quite solid. It reminded her of the Nexus, but on a smaller scale. Caretakers, Yuki breathed, voicing the realization that struck them all. The leader of the alien delegation stepped forward, its iridescent form pulsing with what might have been emotion. When it spoke, the words seemed to form directly in Amelia's mind. "We come seeking the last Nexus. Long have we searched, hoping to make amends for the great wrong our ancestors committed." General Hawthorne, designated as Earth's representative, cleared his throat. "And what assurances can you offer that your intentions are peaceful? That you won't simply destroy the Nexus, and us along with it?" The alien's form rippled, a gesture Amelia interpreted as sadness. "We understand your fear, but know this: we are the descendants of those who once hunted the Nexus. Our civilization has spent millennia atoning for that sin, searching the stars in hopes of finding survivors. We seek not to destroy, but to rebuild." As if on cue, the Nexus's massive eye opened, focusing on the alien delegation. A wave of emotion swept through the hangar. Joy, recognition, forgiveness. Amelia felt tears spring to her eyes as the depth of the moment washed over her. Found, whole, reborn. The next few hours were a whirlwind of diplomacy and revelations. The caretakers, as they came to be known, shared their story. They were the children of the races that had once feared the Nexus, but over generations, they had come to understand the true nature of the beings they had nearly eradicated. Now they sought to revive Nexus civilization and usher in a new era of galactic cooperation. As talks progressed, it became clear that humanity had stumbled onto something far greater than they could have imagined. The caretakers offered not just advanced technology and scientific knowledge, but a place in a vast interstellar community. "We stand at a crossroads," Amelia addressed the assembled dignitaries, her voice ringing with conviction. "We can choose fear, or we can choose understanding. We can cling to our isolation, or we can embrace a future among the stars." She gestured to the Nexus and the caretakers. "These beings have offered us friendship, knowledge, and a chance to be part of something greater than ourselves. I say we take it." A murmur of agreement rippled through the crowd. Even the most hardened skeptics couldn't deny the opportunity before them. As the formal accords were drawn up, Amelia felt a sense of profound joy emanating from the Nexus. New beginning, not alone, family. In the days that followed, news of the extraterrestrial encounter spread across Earth. There was fear and uncertainty, to be sure, but also a growing sense of hope and excitement. Humanity was about to take its first real steps into a larger universe. As the Curiosity's crew prepared for their next mission, accompanying the Nexus to its new home among the stars, Amelia took a moment to gaze out at the lunar landscape. So much had changed in so little time. They had set out to explore a distant world and had ended up reshaping the future of their entire species. "Ready for our next adventure?" Flynn asked, coming to stand beside her. Amelia smiled, her heart full of anticipation for the wonders that awaited them. "Always." As the ships lifted off, carrying humans, Nexus, and caretakers alike, Amelia couldn't help but feel that this was more than just a new chapter for humanity. It was a new beginning for the galaxy itself. A chance to heal ancient wounds and forge a future built on understanding and cooperation. The universe, it seemed, was far more wondrous and full of possibility than they had ever dared to dream. As the joint fleet of human, Nexus, and caretaker vessels prepared to depart the solar system, excitement and apprehension rippled through Earth's population. Amelia found herself at the center of a media whirlwind, trying to explain the profound implications of their discoveries to a global audience. This isn't just about advanced technology or interstellar travel, she explained during a worldwide broadcast. The Nexus represents a fundamentally different way of existing in the universe. They've shown us that consciousness, matter, and energy are far more intertwined than we ever imagined. Public reaction was mixed. While many were thrilled at the prospect of joining a galactic community, others voiced concerns about the rapid pace of change. Fringe groups spouted doomsday prophecies, and some nations threatened to withdraw from the newly formed United Earth Council. Through it all, the Nexus remained a calm presence, its vast consciousness gently guiding humanity towards understanding. Patience, growth, time. As the departure date approached, Amelia spent every spare moment with the Nexus, absorbing as much knowledge as she could. The creature shared visions of distant worlds and ancient civilizations, each one a testament to the incredible diversity of life in the universe. One evening, as she sat in quiet communion with the Nexus, a startling revelation bloomed in her mind. The Nexus wasn't just sharing information, it was changing her. Subtle alterations in her neural pathways, adjustments to her very DNA. She gasped, momentarily afraid. No harm. Evolution. Potential. Amelia realized that this gradual transformation wasn't limited to her. Subtle changes were occurring in everyone who had prolonged contact with the Nexus. Humanity was being prepared, ever so gently, for its new role in the cosmos. She brought her discovery to the rest of the crew, unsure of how they would react. To her surprise, they had all noticed similar changes in themselves. "I can sense things," Yuki admitted. "Patterns in nature I never saw before. It's like the world has become more vibrant, more alive." Lewis nodded enthusiastically. "My dreams are filled with schematics for machines we can't even build yet. But somehow I understand them. Even the usually stoic Flynn seemed affected. I feel connected," he said softly, "to the ship, to all of you, to Earth itself. It's hard to explain, but it feels right." As news of these changes spread, it sparked a new wave of controversy. Some hailed it as the next step in human evolution, while others decried it as an alien corruption of humanity's essence. Amelia found herself once again facing General Hawthorne, who regarded her with a mixture of awe and suspicion. "You're not entirely human anymore, are you, Dr. Chain?" She met his gaze steadily. "I'm still me, General. We all are. We're just more. The Nexus isn't replacing who we are. It's helping us realize our full potential." Hawthorne sighed, suddenly looking very old. "I hope you're right, because there's no going back now." As the day of departure finally arrived, a solemn mood fell over the lunar base. This wasn't just a scientific mission or a diplomatic venture. It was the beginning of a journey that would irrevocably change the course of human history. Amelia stood with her crewmates in the Curiosity's bridge, watching as the massive form of the Nexus was carefully maneuvered into a specially designed carrier ship. Around them, the sleek vessels of the caretakers moved into formation, their organic hulls shimmering with babely contained energy. Final checks complete, Flynn announced, his voice tight with emotion. We are go for launch. As the engines hummed to life, Amelia felt a wave of emotion wash over her, not just her own excitement and trepidation, but the collective feelings of everyone involved in this monumental endeavor. The barriers between minds were becoming more permeable, another gift, or perhaps consequence, of their contact with the Nexus. Journey. Together. Destiny. The Nexus's thoughts resonated through them all as the ships lifted off, breaking free of lunar gravity. As Earth receded behind them, growing smaller against the star-studded backdrop of space, Amelia felt a profound sense of both loss and anticipation. They were leaving behind everything they had ever known, venturing into a universe far stranger and more wonderful than they had ever imagined. But they were not alone. They carried with them the hopes and dreams of their entire species, and the ancient wisdom of the Nexus to guide them. As they approached the edge of the solar system, the caretaker ships began to power up their faster-than-light drives. The technology was far beyond anything humanity had achieved, manipulating the very fabric of space-time to create shortcuts through the cosmos. Are we really ready for this? Marcus asked, a tremor in his voice betraying his nerves. Amelia smiled, reaching out to squeeze his hand. In that touch, she conveyed not just reassurance, but a glimpse of the wonders that awaited them. We were born ready for this, Marcus. Our entire history as a species has been leading to this moment. As the drives engaged, reality seemed to twist and bend around them. Stars blurred into streaks of light, and for a moment, Amelia felt as if she could perceive the very strings of the universe, vibrating with cosmic music. And then, in a flash of indescribable beauty, they were through. The familiar constellations of Earth's sky were replaced by entirely alien star patterns. They had arrived in a new sector of the galaxy, taking humanity's first real step into the cosmic ocean. Welcome. Home. Begin. The Nexus's thoughts filled them with a sense of arrival and new beginnings. As they approached a shimmering world that would serve as the Nexus's new home, Amelia felt a profound sense of purpose wash over her. This was more than just an adventure or a scientific expedition. It was the dawn of a new era for humanity. They would face challenges and wonders beyond imagination, but they would face them together, not just as a crew or a species, but as part of a greater galactic family. As they prepared for their first landing on an alien world, Amelia looked around at her crewmates, seeing the same mix of excitement and determination in their eyes that she felt in her heart. Whatever lay ahead, they were ready to embrace it. The universe, in all its infinite mystery and beauty, awaited, and humanity, guided by the ancient wisdom of the Nexus and the dedication of the caretakers, was finally ready to take its place among the stars. As the ships began their descent towards the alien world below, Amelia felt a sense of completion. The journey that had begun with a simple exploratory mission had led them to the threshold of a new chapter in cosmic history. Whatever challenges lay ahead, whatever wonders they would discover, one thing was certain: the adventure was only just beginning. The story of humanity among the stars was about to unfold, and Amelia Chen, along with her crewmates and the last Nexus, would be there to help write its opening chapters. As they broke through the planet's atmosphere, a new world spreading out before them, Amelia smiled. The future, vast and bright and full of limitless potential, beckoned.